Hi, this is my June wrap-up. I did not read as many books in June as I hoped for, but then again, June is a summer month, so plans always change when you can be outside. I still managed to meet my goal at minimum 10 books a month. I've read 13 books this month. The first book I read was Dorothy Sayers' book Letters to a Diminished Church. It's called Passionate Arguments for the Relevance of Christian Doctrine. It's a book that defends the old Christian dogmas. Then I went away for a while with my work, but I managed to read one book there. It was the book Integrity by Dr. Henry Cloud. It also says on the cover, "The courage to meet the demands of reality, how 6 essential qualities determine your success in business." The only C.S. Lewis book I read this month was his self-biography called Surprised by Joy, The Shape of My Early Life. And it was an okay biography, I think. It was a little bit unfocused sometimes, too much details in typical C.S. Lewis style, but you get a lot out of it if you read it. Then I read this book called Metaphysics by William Hasker, Constructing a Worldview. So it's all about what things are and how you should relate to them. This is an introductory course, so it's a thin but easily read book about maybe not so easy theme. This next book is a short and easy read. It's called Enough, Discovering Joy Through Simplicity and Generosity. I try sometimes to read books about not having much stuff and simplifying your life, and this is one of those books. It's written by Adam Hamilton, and it's a very easy and simple introduction, not very heavy material, and it's easy to read. So the next book is also a quite easy read. I read it in one day. It's called Real Christian, Bearing the Marks of Authentic Faith by Todd Wilson. It's a take on 6 virtues that should be apparent in a Christian life, and elaborates on them a little bit. This next book I read because of politics. I wanted to know more about Christianity in the political sphere. So I read The Myth of Christian Nation by George Gregory Boyd. How the quest for political power is destroying the church. I did not like this book very much. I think he was more of a theologian than a politician, so he didn't know much about politics, it seemed. It has some good stuff in it, and I agree in many aspects of it. Yeah, and then it's a little bit too American for me. The next philosophical book I read was How Do We Know by James Dew and Mark Foreman. It's a book about epistemology, an introduction. This next book is a really good one. It's Joseph Pieper's The Concept of Sin. And sin is a theme that you often try to avoid, but I still wanted to read a little more about it and the substance behind the concept. What is it all about? How can you define it? Why do we define it? How we do? How can we defend that definition? And all that stuff. Because he does a really good job in getting an understanding about what sin is and how sin has been defined through history. So it's a really essential book. This next book is called Ethics, Approaching Moral Decisions. As the Metaphysics book earlier, it's part of the series called Contours of Christian Philosophy. I tried to read all in this series, and it's by Arthur F. Holmes. Ethics is all about approaching moral decisions. How do Christians define ethics? Why? And every aspect of it. So this is an introductory course in how to do ethics in philosophy, from a Christian standpoint. And it's quite easy to read, and yeah, it's okay book. I read another book called Enough as well, and this is by Will Davis Jr. Finding More by Living with Less. This is a more substantial book than the other one. It's thicker as well, but it's quite a lot better as well. I think it has more substance to it, and makes you think a little bit more instead of being a self-help fast forward book. This is more like explaining deeper and does it in a better way, I think. So it's a better book, but a little bit longer. I used a long time reading this next book. It's called God According to God. A scientist discovers we've been wrong about God all along. And then it's this yellow thing that says what the Bible really tells us about God. And it's Joel Alstruder who has written it, and I'm not sure what I really think about it. It does not give all that it promises, but it's still an interesting book because it has this Jewish take on the Old Testament and the character of God and how we should think about God from the Hebrew language. The last book is a really good book, but I read it in Finnish. It's called Mitä tiedämme Jeesuksesta, and it's Richard T. France that has written it, and it's called The Evidence for Jesus in English. It is not very thick, but it has a lot of material about the evidence we actually have, and it has some discussions about why we can trust them and why we cannot trust them and what they really say. It's not complete, of course, because it's not a very thick book, but it's an honest book. And it's you should pick it up if you are interested in the historical Jesus and the evidence that we have about from non-Christian sources, Christian sources, archaeology, and everything like that. That was all the books read in June. I hope you got some good ideas of books to read if you are interested in this kind of themes. Bye.